Square Media Station, serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
We're counting down the days, the hours to Eagles, Giants. You can hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN on Saturday. We're just going to keep getting you ready. Obviously, Sports Bash with Mike Gill and Ryan. We're over Chickies and Pete's today. They'll be over at the Ocean Casino Resort tomorrow, getting you guys ready. But tonight on Game Night, as promised, or as predicted, depending on who you ask, senior NFL writer Kalyn Kahler will be back joining us tonight because she wrote that article in The Athletic about the Eagles and their offense and how they run, the sneaks and all the things that go into that. So we'll get her perspective on the Eagles and the NFL this weekend. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Today was one of those days where the coaches started to speak, and I try not to read too much into some of this stuff. I really try to not be the guy who is irrational or overthinks things, right? But it's one of those days where I feel like we're starting to get to a point where we're having to almost make up reasons for why XYZ may or may not happen. So one of the problems with the game this Saturday is I think a lot of people in the media are trying their best to explain, and they're using stats, using information, and it's kind of messing up the entire breakdown of the game. And one of the things that I heard today was when Brian Daboll himself was asked about, Jalen Hurts and all this up the game with Hurts. This is what the Giants head coach had to say about Jalen Hurts. And I want you to hear this because after this, I'll get to the Eagles injury report, because what Daboll said here, I think, is very interesting to keep in mind.
There's only one Jalen. He's a very good quarterback. We try to give the best looks we can for Jalen, but it's never, when you have a player of that caliber that can do so many different things, it's, you do the best job you can out here in preparation, and then you have to play well on Saturday. He wasn't on an injury report, so we're, I'm expecting his best, and that's what he's given every time I've been around him. There are a lot of good football teams in the league. Everyone's good, and certainly we have a lot of good teams in our division. A lot of talented players, good coaches. Teams that are here at this time of year are the teams that earn it.
The key, what he said there is, I'm expecting to get Hurts' best. That he was expecting Hurts to go out there and give his best. And what I say to the audience out there is, haven't we heard enough from the people who have doubted the Eagles, doubted Jalen Hurts, said he can't, everything everyone ever said about this guy, Jalen Hurts, has completely and utterly been disproven. Everything. There is nothing that has been said about Jalen that thus far has not been disproven. So there is no way I am going into this game on Saturday and doubting his readiness, his availability, or his effectiveness. Now, look, I understand that there are concerns. Like Dan Orlovsky today on SportsCenter talking about the Eagles' offense.
The reality is this: Week 18 was not win or go home. This weekend is. This is a wildly different offense when Jalen runs the ball and is used as a runner to when they don't use him. Now, in Week 18, they didn't, and they shouldn't have. There was no reason to expose him. But it's not only like Jalen just as a runner. It's the butterfly effect that Jalen's running and threat has for everything else. It makes the receivers' jobs way easier because you have to account for numbers down near the – so down to the football. So A.J. Brown gets more one-on-ones, and you can distribute the football a little bit easier. Running backs like Boston Scott and Miles Sanders, there's one less guy that you have to defend against in the run game or run off of. The offensive line usually has better angles and leverages because someone is hanging backside to pay attention to Jalen. It'll be very interesting to watch early on in this game how much, not the scrambles by Jalen Hurts, but how much of the designed run the Eagles are actually using.
And we know that Jalen Hurts led the NFL in designed quarterback runs this year. So Orlovsky is right in theory that, yeah, there is a concern that if Hurts can't do what he does best, there's a problem. But the other side of the coin is that if the Philadelphia Eagles, with 2 weeks of preparation, don't already know that, are not ready for that, are not going out there with the understanding of that, then as I told you guys about a month ago, there are bigger problems with the Philadelphia Eagles than Jalen Hurts' health. If the Eagles coaching staff, if the Eagles players, if Jalen Hurts, if everyone in this conversation is not ready and prepared for this game and doesn't have all that in the back of their mind, their only job is to prepare for an NFL game. Their only responsibility is to be ready for Saturday night. So I understand what Orlovsky is saying, and I understand what Dable is saying. You know, Orlovsky is saying, look, if Hurts can't do it, Hurts does best. The Eagles have a problem. Dable is saying that, well, you know, I expect the best from Jalen Hurts. I'm telling you, we're focusing too much on Jalen. We are spending way too much time talking about Hurts' shoulder. And I'm not trying to be dismissive to anyone, but if I have to hear more about Jalen Hurts' shoulder on SportsCenter or on talk radio, I'm going to scream. Jalen Hurts' shoulder will not win or lose this game on Saturday. It will be the game plan and the adjustments of the Eagles coaching staff. You have had 2 weeks to prepare for this moment, to prepare for what Hurts can and can't do, to prepare for what Jalen is good at and what he's not good at, to prepare and say, what did Jalen do so well this year? What did he not do so well this year? It's on the coaching staff to do their job. And I'm telling you right now, as I told you guys over a month ago, when Jalen Hurts went down with the injury, I told you guys, if the Eagles cannot win one of their next 3 games, there's a bigger problem than Jalen's injury. Well, they won 1 of the 3. Did it by the skin of their teeth, but they did 1 out of 3. And I'll tell you guys again, if you have a situation where the Eagles lose this game on Saturday night, it'll be because the Eagles beat themselves. It'll be because the Eagles coaching staff was not prepared. I felt like every week we were on the radio here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Thursday night. Every week we talked about on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, Game Night with yours truly here, the Locker with Billy Schweim on the weekends, every single week. Any of the shows that I was around, we always brought up, man, Jalen's doing such a good job at avoiding contact and not taking any unnecessary hits. We complimented him on that every single week. One game, he runs the contact, he gets injured. If I know that, and you listening in your car, or you listening at work, or wherever you're catching the show, I appreciate you tuning in. But you know, and I know this to be the truth, if the Eagles coaching staff doesn't know that to be the truth, there's a huge problem in this organization. And it's not Hurts' shoulder, it's the coaching staff. If the coaching staff is not prepared to help these players execute on Saturday night, nothing that's been said all week matters. Because number one, I'm reading this article from The Athletic by our coming up guest, Kalyn Kahler. Kalyn details the nitty gritty, the minutia, the execution, the little things, the fundamentals of the quarterback sneak. That the quarterback sneak is more than just a bunch of guys going into a rugby scrum. If there is that much detail given to a quarterback sneak, but you're going to overlook Jalen's shoulder and Jalen's quarterback runs that don't get him hit, that Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen need to be brought up on charges of something, some sort of criminal charge. And obviously I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I don't mean that literally, criminal, but I mean it is criminal to put Jalen in any harm's way that is not necessary. You won this season without him taking unnecessary hits, unnecessary contact, unnecessary situations. You kept him protected. You did everything you could to put him in a position to be successful. Just do it one more time. Because if this team executes the way they can play at their best, they're beating the Giants. To me, it's as simple as that. Now, I mentioned the injury report earlier. The injury report, nothing heavily serious, right? Only one person has been ruled out for Saturday night's game. That's Avonte Maddox. And I told you guys yesterday, that's not a surprise at all. The bigger surprise is the guy who is not ruled out, Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson was a full participant at practice today. I don't pretend like I'm a doctor, and I didn't say the Holiday Inn Express last night, but a torn abductor, not a groin injury like some people are lazily reporting, a torn abductor is complicated because of how all of those muscles are interconnected and interdependent. I don't know how good of a version Lane Johnson we are getting on Saturday night. So either Lane is healthier than we thought, or he's not telling the Eagles doctors the truth. Because Lane is a super tough guy. He's an incredibly dedicated and loyal guy to his teammates in the Eagles organization. But I hope that he doesn't re-injure himself on Saturday night, because for him to be a full participant at practice, he tore this thing on Christmas Eve. It's now, 4 weeks later? That's the bare minimum recovery time. That's my only concern going into the game. It's not with being without Maddox. It's that Lane Johnson's a full participant at practice. We're going to find out what that means on Saturday night. Mero, race my quick on the call here at home for Eagles football, 97.3 ESPN. Coming up next, we'll dig deeper into the Eagles and the NFL divisional round weekend with Kalyn Kahler from The Athletic, senior NFL writer. Next, with me, Josh Hennig, on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Tonight on ESPN Radio, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors continue their Eastern Conference road trip when they head to Boston to face Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics, who sit high atop the NBA standings.
Brown's got it out ahead to a streaking Tatum, who hammers a right-hand dunk.
The Golden State Warriors at the Boston Celtics, presented by Indeed. Coverage begins tonight at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
It's the NBA on 97.3 ESPN, your exclusive home for the NBA Finals.
Hey, Josh Hennig here to tell you about how Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has helped your favorite football team. Did you know that over 40 years ago, John Jenkins Sr. invented the heated seat that football players sit on today? Yes, the Jenkins family created a way for football players to weather the extreme cold. Now imagine what Jenkins could do for your home. Call Jenkins for plumbing, drain cleaning, and leak repairs, gas furnace boiler, and hot water heater replacements. Call Jenkins today at 609-641-6262, online at jenkinsonSons.com.
Hey guys, this is Keenan Thompson. I have a problem with you. Yes, you. None of y'all told me that AutoTrader has millions of new and used cars that I can shop from home. I thought we were friends. I put smiles on your face, but I'm not smiling. No one told me that with AutoTrader, a dealer can deliver cars to my home or that I could shop by price on AutoTrader. No one. Consider this friendship that you just learned we had officially over. Finally, it's easy. AutoTrader.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, "My doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. There are nights when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver," unquote. She's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
The Eagles are headed to the playoffs. Congratulations to the entire Eagles organization. It's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. We're proud to be the official caterer of the Philadelphia Eagles First Trust Bank Club and the Eagles training camp. Chicky and Pete's is ready. Come join us with the best fans on the planet for all the Eagles playoff action and the best in-game experience anywhere. Ice cold draft beer, all of your Chicky and Pete's favorites, and of course, world famous crab fries. Perfect for Eagles playoffs. Let's go Eagles. Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Come join us for some new tasty seasonal favorites. Try our handcrafted garlic truffle burger, topped with garlicky truffled mushrooms, arugula, and truffle aioli. Or enjoy our unique spicy Thai peanut wings, classic or boneless. And pair any of our seasonal menu items with a specialty cocktail, like the chocolate raspberry martini or our cranberry margarita. And don't forget our world-famous crab fries, Chickies and Pete's.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that floor dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe.
Eesh.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors with ultra-thick pads that trap and lock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day,
and dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
They say they'll get your biggest tax refund. Jackson Hewitt says your biggest tax refund guaranteed, and a chance to double your tax refund. Thousands in weekly prizes during the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. Your biggest refund times 2, twice the money, so forget about them. File your taxes on the double at Jackson Hewitt today. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal tax return. Promotion ends 4/2/23. Visit jacksonhewitt.com for rules.
Wait, stop the countdown. It's the final days of the Kia Season of Giving Back sales event. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That does not mean you can't drive it home tomorrow. With peace of mind, Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you are virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Sorento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 1/31/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
I'll make you a deal. I'll read the whole article, and then I'll have you back on.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, perfect. I'll come back this time next week. Talk about teams. Really awesome.
Well, that was last week, all here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. when senior NFL writer for The Athletic, Kalyn Kahler, basically decided to call her shot right here, that she was coming out with this article and then she was coming right back on the show. So as promised, she is back this week on the Sports Bash as she wrote that article about the QB sneaks, which I think is a little simplistic to say it's just about QB sneaks because it's a lot more nuanced than that. And Kalyn is back here again on 97.3 ESPN. Kalyn, welcome back. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, Josh. Thanks for having me.
So one of the things I noticed in the article in The Athletic about the Eagles is the amount of detail and the amount of just little things that go into this. It's more than just a bunch of guys running into each other. And like there's about the whole situation with guys getting lower than each other. Mailata saying Parsons was standing up, so I went for my shoulder into his stomach. There's all these little things that went into this. It's so much involved than just, 1 yard in a cloud of dust.
Oh, yeah. And I think what surprised me the most was, I kind of figured after I watched all 32 of the Eagles quarterback sneaks this year, after I watched all of those, and there's actually more than 32 because the NFL's official stats do not count 2-point plays. And there's been at least one on a 2-point play against Chicago. So it's actually more than 32. But anyways, when I watched all 32 of them, you do see they are highly schemed. You see different things going on. You see some patterns, obviously, with the players pushing Jalen. They call those the pushers. Sometimes there's 2 pushers. Sometimes there's 3 pushers. Sometimes there's just one, like Dallas Goedert in motion behind Jalen Hurts. But each one, you can tell they spend a lot of time on it just when you're looking at the formation, because a lot of teams elsewhere will have 1 or 2 variations of the sneak that they go to, and it's just something that if they are in the down and distance, they're gonna call it, but it's not something they spend a lot of time on. And that's what I think surprised me maybe the most in this story, is that when I talked to players like AJ Brown, who obviously came to the Eagles via Tennessee in an off-season trade, I asked him, he's one of only 2 players who have played elsewhere on the Eagles offense. So I asked him, hey, how did Tennessee coach the sneak? Like, what was it like there? And he was like, oh, it was just another play. Like, we didn't spend much time on it at all. And he was telling me that, in Philadelphia, it's installed every week. Cam, is it Jurgens or Jurgens?
Cam Jurgens.
Jurgens. So you do say the J. Okay. I never knew. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say his name out loud. Cam Jurgens. I feel like it should be Jurgens. Anyways, Cam Jurgens told me that every week they have a half dozen sneaks that they are walking through, that they are installing. And so that's probably 5 more than any other NFL team, or the average NFL team. So that just shows you like how much more a part of this offense this play is. And another thing, when I was talking to analytics staffers around the NFL, a lot of them told me, like, yeah, in other places, this is just an afterthought. It's not. And Jason Kelce will tell you the same thing. Like, his thing is he just preaches how he doesn't think NFL teams run the sneak enough. And he's absolutely 100% correct in that, because there are numbers to back it up. It is the most efficient play on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. So, there's a lot of reasons teams don't do it. Some quarterbacks don't like it. Phillip Rivers in LA or San Diego at the time, he had some knee problems. There were some seasons where he never ran it. I think he had like 4 or 5 straight seasons where he had 0 sneaks. So some quarterbacks are just not into it, and you do need the buy-in from your players to do it, which is also what's unique about Philadelphia, is that everyone here, like Jeff Stoutland is a huge proponent of it. Jason Kelce is a huge proponent of it. The whole offensive line loves it. They were all telling me how much they love the play. And I'm like, yeah, but doesn't it hurt you? Like, why do you love it? And they're like, it's just, we're good at it. That's why we love it. So you do need that buy-in, but it's not something that only Philadelphia can do.
No, it's not. I think, but that's what makes it unique. You just mentioned the buy-in, like for example with Jeff Stoutland. The guys with the Stoutland University shirts, and there is a buy-in across this team. The O-line buys in the Stoutland. The whole offense loves Jalen Hurts. The players, played along with Nick Sirianni in his Flowers analogy last year that half of the region hated. Oh, you're talking about Flowers, but then the players were buying into it, right? You listen to Kelsey's podcast and you realize that, everyone is bought into each other in this organization. And maybe that's the bigger part of why this play works so well. The reason why you can run it 32 times, Kalyn, is because of the fact that everyone is so bought into the plan and each other and is so cohesive that it's almost like it can't not work.
Yeah, the numbers with Jalen Hurts. Gardner, I will say Gardner did 2, I believe, in his time filling in for Hurts, and one was a touchdown at Dallas. The other one went for no gain. It was one of the few that were stopped this year. But again, like, he was still able to do it, and he did a really good one at Dallas. So with Jalen Hurts, the numbers are better. They're converting 93.1% of sneaks, I believe, is the stat right now, which is amazing. And the rest of the league, I think their average is like around 87 something percent for the rest of the league on quarterback sneaks. So the Eagles are, about 6% better than that with Jalen Hurts. And if you talk about, there's a stat called offensive EPA, which is, expected points scored above the average offense. And if you look at that stat in sneak situations, the Eagles this season are scoring 23.91 points above the average offense on quarterback sneaks for the season. That's cumulative for the season. And I believe the average in the NFL, I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was significantly less than that. That was like an all-time record. We only have sneaks data officially that goes back till 2000. So it's impossible to know if the rate that the Eagles are running this play at this year is actually an all-time record or not. But talking to, people, literally I was talking to someone in the league office who works with data, and he was like, we have no real way of knowing, but he's like, I'm certain this is a record. And it just shows you, like, if you put intention behind this play and you scheme it up and then you actually run it regularly, because, the Eagles are pretty much averaging like 2 sneaks a game this season. So if you scheme it up and you do this, you can have some really good success, and it works when you need it to work.
Talking with Kalyn Kahler. She's a senior NFL writer for The Athletic here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow her on Twitter at Kalyn, Kalyn, Kahler on Twitter. One of the other things you wrote about, and I think it's so important, and it's kind of a big, it's like a macro to a micro to a macro thing, which is Jason Kelce is the integral part of all of this.
Yeah.
This guy is going to the Hall of Fame one day. Like, literally, his brother Travis is making fun of him that he's going to set this record. Looks like he's pretty close to setting the record for most all-pro teams. He's already got 5 at this point. There's only a handful of guys that have done that. And it's the little nuance that he moves the ball forward while hiking it. And it's like the one quote, I forget who quoted it in the article, but they said, a lot of guys do this, but no one does it as well or as demonstratively as Jason does it. And it's just another example of, and I'm going to, bring it back to my ism. I always tell people, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. If your O-line stinks and your wide receivers don't catch, it doesn't matter. So it's, to me, because you have Jason Kelce out there, you have a future Hall of Famer, that this Eagles offense is able to function the way it does.
Oh yeah, he's crucial to so many things that the Eagles do. And he's, I know every year he kind of debates retiring, and it's just going to be such a bummer when he does retire, because he's not only like a great personality to talk to in that locker room, and someone who, will actually give you like really insightful answers. Cause he and I talked about the sneak for like 12 minutes, which is pretty long for as far as locker room interviews go. And he was like very insightful about it. And I think like, he just this advantage, and of course he wouldn't admit to doing this. But as I put in the story, there was multiple video clips and evidence showing him very obviously moving his arm and the ball forward. Although he won't admit to it and he says it's not intentional, this is something that if you are at the top of your game, like you exploit any advantage that you can and that you can get away with. And, they've never been called for anything. And he told me that originally it would have been like the officials used to say, oh, we'll just reset the ball if we see it. But recently they've started saying we will call it a false start. Although if you read the rule book, there's not a lot in the rule book that would really support that being a false start. It should probably just be like unsportsmanlike conduct, but that's a whole other debate. But the point of it is, like, yes, Jason Kelce is a masterful artist with that. Like, somebody described it to me as like a catcher framing a pitch. It's very similar to that. And, it's just the ability to put that defense in the neutral zone and get a penalty called on them instead of you. I mean, this is how teams win games. Like, these little tiny things, these battles that we don't know about, that are kind of like hidden but happening every game. That's what the greatest players do. That's what they know how to do.
So with all that being said, are the Eagles, in your mind, the best offensive line in the NFL?
Definitely. I definitely think so. I mean, there's a few good ones out there, but I mean, I think I haven't looked at the PFF grades recently, but I know like at midseason they were the best. Lane Johnson. I actually haven't seen, what is the news on Lane?
Lane is a full participant at practice today. He is available for Saturday.
Wow.
The only person ruled out was Avonte Maddox.
Okay, that's huge. That is huge. I really think that's huge. I mean, I think Jack Driscoll was doing well, but having Lane back is really good. Really, that's gonna be big. I hadn't seen that news, so that's really good. But even on the sneaks, like, I didn't actually put this in the story, but if you watch the sneaks, sometimes Lane, it's really interesting because he's all the way on the right, and you'll see him sometimes. Somehow he will, like, everyone else will dive forward in the scrum, and then he kind of he's going forward, but he's hanging back, and he will like crash down the back of the line. And like if for some reason they did need a little extra push, he's like the final person in the back. And sometimes he doesn't do anything, and he just like rolls over and sits up, and he's like, yeah. And then other times, they do need him. And so I think that's a really big addition if he's back and plays this entire game and is back to full strength.
Because the other interesting thing is that Driscoll is a better run blocker than pass blocker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Lane, I mean, he's a great right tackle, but everyone knows that his strength is not giving up sacks. So you almost have to wonder, is part of the reason why Lane is being given the good to go is because maybe it's also part of the game plan. The idea that, whether it is the sneaks, as you write about in the article, or the fact that we saw a lot of Jalen Hurts doing more of the, the 3-step drop passing game, in the Giants vanilla offense. It's little things to think about, because at the end of the day, I said this before you came on, all this coach's only job is to prepare for this game. Like, their only job is to be ready for Saturday night. So it's like, and this is not to belittle the Giants, but if the Eagles don't beat the Giants on Saturday night, and it is, for example, an execution issue, I mean, come on, guys. Like, you had 2 weeks to prepare for this.
Right. Well, that's always the fear of having that layoff is, you have too much time. But I think obviously for the Eagles, it was important to get guys healthy again. So I think it will work out for them. And I will say, like, after you spend so much time writing about sneaks and like studying sneaks, and even if you read this article one time, you will not watch a football game in the same way, like, ever again. Because every time a team gets into like a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1, you will just scream at your television if they do not run a sneak. If they do anything else, like any other nonsense, it will make you so mad. And I will say, last weekend, threatening the sneak is just as important as the sneak. And Jason Kelce made that point. He was like, every team needs to have an established sneak in the game so that they can build off of that. And there is so much you can build off of it. We saw the Jaguars, they ran a sneak for the 2-point conversion. And then the next drive, they threatened the sneak, but ended up handing off the ball to Travis Etienne. He got 25 yards. The Eagles have done similar things multiple times this season, including against the Giants in the first game against the Giants this season. They had a They gave a sneak look, and then the play was called dead because the Giants player was injured. Then they went back to it, and it looked like the sneak again, and they ended up handing the ball off to Miles Sanders. And I think he got 15 yards around the right edge. So a lot of times the sneaks, the edges will be open. So it opens up so much more because the only way for the defense to stop it is if they fully sell out. And in doing that, you leave yourself vulnerable on the edges, on the outside for a lot, more explosive plays. So once you know that, and once you start being aware of this, like, you will not watch a game the same again. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do?
Now, with all that being said, what do you think happens Saturday night between the Eagles and the Giants?
I think the Giants will make it a tough game. I don't think it's going to be an easy game by any means. I think the Giants are a really good team and they are very well coached. So I think any situation they get into, they're going to be able to coach their way out of it. I do think the Eagles are the better team, the stronger team, the more talented all around roster, also very well coached. So honestly, to me, this is like the most exciting game of the weekend because it's always fun to have a divisional, rival in the divisional round. So I think that's really exciting. And I do think it's going to be a tight game. I don't know if I have a prediction. I think the Eagles will probably win, but I don't know if it's going to be smooth sailing.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily looking for a specific prediction, more just like your thoughts on it. Just because the problem with the divisional round, like you said, is that there are interesting matchups this weekend. And I feel like everyone has a feeling, like deep down, whether they want to admit it out loud or not, they have an idea who they think is going to win each game. But you can still make the argument for other things to happen in the same game. And like you said with the Giants, I agree with you. I don't think the Giants are going to be destroyed by foot. Like, I don't think it's going to be like the first game. But I believe what Ryan Clark said on ESPN TV a couple weeks ago, which he said, if the Eagles don't beat themselves, nobody can beat them.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the things that stands out in your article in The Athletic about the Eagles sneak is that this team, when they're executing, when they're doing all the little things, all the, for lack of a better term, the non-sexy things, right? The non-flashy things, they are arguably the best team in the NFL. Now, can they do that for every game, every quarter? Well, they didn't do it every game, every quarter this year. But when they do it, it is like, for example, that Vikings game earlier this year, where that second quarter, they just literally kept knocking them down on the mat every turn, it felt like.
Well, it's interesting because I think so far in these playoffs, we've seen a lot of the top teams like not play well at all. Like the Bills looked terrible last weekend. The Bengals didn't look very good. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles and the Chiefs look after their layoff because we haven't seen them last week. But I think the other teams that we thought were favorites are kind of not playing the best that they can play right now. And like the Bills look very beatable if they keep playing like they did last week and the previous week. The last 2 weeks they've had a lot of issues going on there. A lot of turnovers on offense. The Bengals barely scraped by. So this will be a very interesting football weekend. And I'm also excited to see like what happens with the Jaguars and the Chiefs. Because that team was so exciting last weekend. I wonder if they can carry that momentum into this weekend to Arrowhead.
If you take out the Eagles-Giants game, is the Jags-Chiefs game, the Bills-Bengals game, the Cowboys-Bucks game, like what is your second favorite game of the weekend?
I think it's a tie between I like Jaguars Chiefs could be terrible. Like I think it's either going to be really, really good or it's just going to be a blowout of the Chiefs winning. I have a hard time predicting where that one's going to go. But because I thought the Chargers would give the Chiefs a real run for their money because just based off of some of the things we had seen when the Chargers played the Chiefs earlier this year, they seemed to have a lot of really good, defensive schemes for Pat Mahomes there. So I was a little bit disappointed that it was exciting the Jaguars won, but I was like, oh man, Chiefs Chargers would have been a really good matchup. So I think I will pick Bills Bengals just because, as I said before, like these teams both have played like crap the last week or two. So I'm interested to see what state they will be in. And obviously, like they never got to play each other. Was that 2 weeks ago now? 2 or 3 weeks ago? That game did not continue. So this is sort of the game that we never saw. So it'll be, I think, emotionally packed and charged for both teams, and also just a really interesting and exciting matchup.
I've already said it this week, so it's not breaking news. I'm picking the Bengals to win that game. So
yeah, I don't know, like I can't shake the fact that like the narrative as a journalist, like the narrative of the season has me picking the Bills. Like I'm like, that city has just had calamity after calamity, tragedy after tragedy for like the entire year. That
Right.
I'm like, it's got to be their Super Bowl year, right? But then when I look at how they played, I'm like, I kind of like the Bengals also. So it's going to be really interesting. For the narrative, I think the Bills, but like the realistic take, I think I agree with you.
I'm just a big believer in the whole us against the world mentality, and the Bengals legitimately think everyone's against them right now.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
you know what? Sometimes if people think they can do something, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Somebody thinks, it's the idea if you think you're the big guy in the room, but you're not the big guy in the room, but you walk around like you're the big person in the room. I think Joe Burrow today literally told the media that he never feels like an underdog in his life. Like that guy's bravado and like self-belief is like absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I think they were angry enough about the fact that they would not get to host the divisional round. They have to go on the road. They were angry enough about those playoff changes that I do think that would motivate them a little bit more than your average team is motivated in the playoffs. So I can totally get behind what you're saying there.
Well, one thing I know for sure, some people thought it was a wild idea, but Kalyn Kahler found a way to make QB sneaks one of the most interesting reads of the NFL season. You can go check it out at The Athletic. She's a senior NFL writer for The Athletic. You can follow her on Twitter. Just her name, Kalyn Kahler on Twitter. Kalyn, I appreciate you coming back on this week. I enjoyed the article. Great stuff. Keep it up.
Thank you so much, Josh. Have a good night.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll get back to your thoughts and comments on the other side. Text board is open at 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's a drive by Maxey. Good straight line move down the right side of the lane. Underhand scoop.
The Sixers are in Portland to face the Blazers tonight. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
I guess one time isn't going to kill me.
It's totally safe. We do this all the time.
There's no way these drugs are laced, right?
Trust me, you're going to be fine.
You just need to forget everything.
It'll be fun.
A lethal dose of fentanyl is just 4 grains of sand. It can hide in any drug. So no matter what you and your friends think, what you can't see will kill you. Don't die to get high. Fentanyl is fatal. Get the whole truth at CamdenCounty.com/fentanyl.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer WetJet. With Swiffer WetJet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer WetJet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
Marcus, what happened?
I was changing my oil and I spilled some on the floor.
Oh, well, use these $50 bills to wipe it up.
Perfect. Got any more?
Yeah, take a couple hundred.
Stop. Instead of using money, use an old rag. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
Dr. Trudy Fleer here with the 5G Home Recovery Podcast. Let's talk about mobile users getting priority over T-Mobile home internet users, shall we? You don't know them. Why should they take your internet? I get it. We're raised to share, but always coming in second, paying to be taken advantage of? No, thank you. With Xfinity, there's only one priority, and that is YOU. So come on, people, say yes to Xfinity. Learn more at xfinity.com/TMOFax.
Now through March 21st, new customers can get 400 megabits per second internet. It's all just $30 a month with a 2-year rate guarantee and no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile at regular rates. Go to xfinity.com/TMOFax, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Actual speeds vary.
If you want to save money and start the year right, Staples has you covered.
I need everything to restock my business. File folders, break room supplies, even business cards.
Staples has you covered with big savings on everything you need for your home or office. And now at Staples, Rewards members get $30 back via Staples store bonus when they spend $100. That's $30 to use toward everything from ink to tech. Save big right now at Staples, the working and learning store. Rewards members only. Store bonus redeemable in-store only. Offer ends 1/21.
At Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Ring in the new year with a CD rate that, well, rates. For a limited time, lock in a 13-month term for 4.25% APY with as little as $10,000. Don't delay. Visit oceanfirst.com for complete details.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Certain rules and restrictions apply. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
More residents are getting quality, affordable health coverage through Get Covered New Jersey. 9 in 10 enrolling get financial help, and many pay $10 a month or less. Open enrollment is here. If you need health insurance, now is the time to enroll. Find your plan at getcovered.nj.gov.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy or heater guy, the plumbing guy. Be like 97.3 ESPN, because we need to make our studio comfortable. That's who we called, and you should too. New heating and air installation, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, gas furnaces, leaks, whatever you need done, Jenkins has got you covered. Call them at 609-641-6440 and online at jenkinsandsons.com. Get some of your messages before we get out of here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Text board is open at 609-403-0973, and you could DM the show thanks to First Bank of Seattle on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. A couple messages coming in. Messages, Josh, when the Eagles won easily in New York earlier this year, the defense had 7 sacks, created 1 turnover. I'm expecting another dominant performance on defense Saturday night. Go Birds. I think that's the biggest key in all this. I think that there are some misconceptions about the Eagles defense, and I think that there's some misconceptions about the Giants defense. Look, Louis Riddick said earlier this week on television that he thinks the team that has the better execution by their O-line and D-line are going to win the game. And on paper, the Eagles have the better offensive and defensive line. The only reason why you're slightly, not desperately not confident about that is because of the fact that realistically, the Giants have been playing so well in the trenches in recent weeks, and they finally got healthy. But there is some question about Ojulari. He is questionable for the game officially on the injury report. So it'll be interesting to see if he's available for the Giants defense, at least. But I do think the Eagles defense should be able to handle what the Giants offer. The only way it doesn't is if the Giants maybe lean on the run heavier than we expect them to. And in that case, how do the Eagles adjust to that? Because I don't know if the Eagles, if Jones and Barkley combined for 30 carries, I'm just throwing a number out there randomly. But what I'm saying is a certain volume of carries, like 30 carries, then maybe you do have a problem, right? Maybe there is an issue, and maybe it's the Washington game deja vu all over again. I just don't see the Eagles not learning from their mistakes this year. Anonymous message came in and said, Minshew got stuffed on the biggest QB sneak of the year. He's not close to Hurts at sneaking the ball. Here's the thing. Kalyn wasn't saying that he was the same as Hurts. What she was explaining is that when the Eagles execute their sneaks, anyone who's a competent quarterback can do that job, right? It doesn't matter if it's Hurts, Minshew, Daniel Jones, or Tom Brady. The reality is that the way the Eagles execute those QB sneaks, the technical aspects, the nitty-gritty, the functionality of it allows anyone to be able to do it. Now, yes, Minshew missed the 1 QB sneak, but that was in part because he's not Jalen Hurts, and I blame the coaches for that. It's not because Minshew himself is bad at doing it. 2 different things. Message says, who do you think has a higher ceiling, Jalen Hurts or Daniel Jones? My gut instinct is to say Hurts because of the fact that, Hurts was a Heisman Trophy runner-up. He was a guy that was among the leaders in college football and completion percentage and all kinds of stats his final year at Oklahoma. And Daniel Jones was drafted purely on speculative ability. I think Jones has a chance to be not Josh Allen, but a slightly lesser version of Josh Allen. I think Jalen Hurts can be as good, if not better, than Russell Wilson. I think that's where the differentiation is for me. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
This is the radio home for Eagles playoff football with the legendary voice of the Eagles, Merrill Reese and Mike Quick, calling all the play-by-play action.
Here comes the rush. They've got him. Sack number 1. Hassan Reddick.
Wow.
All right, really quick. I wasn't planning on doing a post show, but thank you to all you who are watching on the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share with your friends at Josh Hennig on YouTube. Quarterback analysis is something that I love doing because the quarterback position is arguably the most flawed thing in all of sports. And the analysis of it typically is flawed as well. So, when someone asks me who has the higher ceiling between Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones, Part of it is pure speculation because of the fact that, let's be realistic, when it comes to sports, your environment, your situation, all those things matter exponentially, right? It matters who your coach is, who's calling the plays, all kinds of different things go into this stuff. But on the flip side, something else that doesn't get talked about enough is the fact that in order to be successful, in order to have certain things work out for you, you have to be talented yourself. No one's in the NFL as a bum, right? Even the quote unquote worst quarterbacks have talent. That's why they get drafted. That's why they get opportunities. Obviously, it's the guy who's able to execute more. And I'm a guy who goes off of your track record tells me something. And I think part of the problem with the evaluation of Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones is that both evaluations have always been wrong. To me, it's that simple. The evaluation of both Jalen Hurts coming out of college by NFL scouts and professionals whose job it is to analyze quarterbacks, and the analysis of Daniel Jones were both so flawed and so negative and so extreme, positive and negative for both guys. People were just way too extreme on both fronts that when you try to have an honest conversation with somebody about it, they just can't. Because we live in a world where people are brainwashed and reprogrammed to think things not because they actually have an original thought, but because they just repeat what they see and hear. And so what happens is that when it comes to quarterback analysis, people say things like, well, Jalen Hurts wasn't a first-round pick. Well, Daniel Jones should have never been drafted 5th overall. Well, Jalen Hurts can't throw the deep ball. Well, Daniel Jones is not a very good intermediate passer. Well, Jalen Hurts is a running quarterback. Well, Daniel Jones is not mobile, and or whatever the explanation is. And they're not saying things from knowledge. They're saying things because they heard somebody else somewhere else say it. I think that's the biggest problem with all of this. So for me, evaluating the quarterback position is fun. It's interesting. It's fascinating to me. But I am not going to sit here and repeat and regurgitate what other people say. I have my own thoughts. And I think that because of Jalen Hurts' body type and because of his mechanical functionality, he has a specific level of potential. To me, that's Russell Wilson level. When Russell Wilson was at his best, I think Jalen can be very similar. I don't think Jalen has the best arm in the NFL. He's not Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. But he's, to me, the next tier below the best arms in the league. Daniel Jones is an enigma because Daniel Jones is the guy who was drafted on speculation and not on actual talent. He has limitations as a quarterback. Can he be coached up to be more? Absolutely. And that's why he's fortunate that he has Brian Dable as his coach. And also, for anything with Hurts, he's fortunate to have a guy like Shane Steichen in his ear, a guy who does like to push the ball down the field and take those deep shots and take advantage of what Hurts can do well. The question is for both guys, when we have this conversation, 10 years from now, right? When we have this conversation many years down the road, 15, 20 years, do both guys stay in good situations? Do both guys stay healthy? Do both guys live up to their potential? Do they both, are they both able to play with elite level talent? Daniel Jones has got one of the best running backs in the NFL. Jalen Hurts has one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Daniel Jones has one of the best coaches in the NFL. Jalen Hurts has one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. These things matter. So, to me, I don't think that we evaluate quarterbacks properly. And as a result, when people ask me what's the higher ceiling, I'm trying to give you an honest answer. But the problem is that I only have this much time to make this much of an explanation. And the problem is most people's attention spans are this and not this. Most people's attention spans are limited. They're not expansive. Most people, it's a microwave society living. Everyone wants their popcorn now. They want it reheated. They want it in their hand. They want to eat it by today's National Popcorn Day. How about that? But on a more serious note, it's just one of those things where I don't think we understand and appreciate the importance of some of this stuff. It's the little things that add up the big things. I'm Josh Hennig, at Josh Hennig on Twitter. Josh Hennig here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you for watching the post-game show or the post-show, whatever you want to call it. I got to come up with a better name for it, actually. That's for another day. Have a great night, everybody.